A very pleasant, good Saturday morning to you, everybody. Welcome to Operation 7570. Hope you're doing well and keeping cool the best you can. Temperature's not quite as bad, but it's supposed to warm up again, even get warmer as we go into the first part of the week. But stay hydrated, of course. Keep safe out there, and don't overdo it. If you have to get out in the hot weather, please don't overdo it. But great to have you with us this morning, whether you've joined us by way of Facebook Live or on WRJB Radio, the traditional radio, or joined us by way of 95.9 and WRJBradio.com Facebook Live, of course. In our studios today, we have two young men with us. They're going to be talking about the Benton County High School Athletics Hall of Fame, Sports Hall of Fame. You know, we talk with David the first part of every year about Hall of Fame activities coming up. Usually we have a banquet in May, but we haven't done that the last couple of years because of the pandemic, the COVID situation. But hopefully, if things work out, we're going to have a banquet coming up the end of October. These two young men are going to tell you all about it this morning, as well as other things going on with the Sports Hall of Fame. So it's a pleasure to welcome to our studios members of the Board of Directors of the Sports Hall of Fame, John Taylor, and, of course, David Markham. Gentlemen, welcome. Thanks for getting up so early. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Flash. Glad to be here.
David's an old hand. He's been with the Sports Hall of Fame. He's been the chairman for the last 8 or 9 years since we implemented the Sports Hall of Fame a few years ago. John has just come on board in recent months, and John, we appreciate your contributions. Thank you, sir.
Well, I don't know how much contributions I had, but I do appreciate the opportunity.
Now, you go back, you're a good one to have on the committee because you love sports history. You go back to your days over at Huntingdon, a great history over there. You just love looking at old documents and historical facts, don't you?
Absolutely. I've been here. This will be starting my 14th year teaching at Camden. And out of those 14 years, I'd say it's probably about 12 years ago, I really started digging into the history specifically of Camden sports, and along with that, obviously had to go back and do my research with some old newspapers, and spent tons of time at the library and read all about Benton County sports. You know, you get in there and you read the old Camden Chronicles, and you not only have the Camden sports there, but you have the Big Sandy write-ups, you have the old Holiday write-ups and things like that. So I absolutely love the history aspect of it. And of course, I'm a history major, so that appeals to me anyway. But specifically, going back and looking at the history of sports in Benton County has been something that I've enjoyed doing for over a decade now.
What, at this particular point in time, and you're finding more and more information every day, can you tell us right now, as you've done your research, what is the earliest documented thing you found on Camden sports, any sport?
Well, I've got some articles from the very first season of Camden football, 1924. We're coming up on the 100-year anniversary of the very first Camden high school football team. And I believe, and I'd have to go back because this was several years ago, but I believe I've got actually something, just one little mention of a basketball team from Camden from 1923. So that's as early as I could find anything. And of course, I'm not even sure that there was. I think with doing research, we were trying to figure out when the first Camden High School was, and of course, this was for Coach McDowell, and I think that was around the time that Camden High School first started, right there around the 1920 era. So that would have been probably as early as you could find.
Now, as you go back and do the research on these great things from old papers, newspapers, of course, when you find this information, John, are you trying now to get it up on digital, get it up on thumb drives or computers?
Well, the first thing I was doing was trying to get as many statistical records as I could, whether that be team win-loss records, schedules, that type of thing, individual stats, that sort of thing. And I've got as much of that as I've found. I've actually got that into spreadsheets for each specific sport that I could find. As far as the articles and pictures and things like that, I would love to eventually get that up online where people could go and access that and read about specific time periods and things like that from the actual articles that I've already done the research for and pulled. But I haven't gotten that far yet. Obviously, that takes a lot of work, and I haven't done that yet.
You know, there is no telling out there, and David and I have had this conversation. I'll bring David into the conversation in just a moment. There is no telling how many people out there, they may not think anything about it, but in their old chest of drawers or whatever, they may have old newspaper clippings, old football, basketball data, programs like that. We'd love to have that information.
Oh, absolutely. And Mr. Markham here has been a big help too. I don't know how many times he's come up to the school and presented me with things, and I've made copies of them and got them right back to him just so that I could have that history there, and then that way I can pull whatever information I need from it, and eventually, put it somewhere where it's easy to access and I can find it whenever I need it.
Well, David, we'll bring you into the conversation right now. Again, thank you for being with us today. And as we've talked, you and I have talked many times, long before the Hall of Fame came into existence, about sports history, of course. But Sports Hall of Fame, tell me how the Benton County Sports Hall of Fame came about, the history of that, and where we stand right now with the organization.
Well, we were not the first counties around that started the Hall of Fame back in a few years ago. Matter of fact, Carroll County had one for a few years. I'm not sure how many, but they'd had one for a few years. And of course, Jackie McGee, that coached over here and coached at Brewston, was the chairman of at that time of the Hall of Fame. And Jackie had talked to me several times about y'all need to get a Hall of Fame started over in Camden, and you need to do that. So finally, I said, well, you're right. And so I started out to trying to talk to people and get some interest in it, and start a Hall of Fame. And I guess Flash was one of the first person that I talked to, and it kind of went from there. And Jackie was really good. He come to our meetings. He helped us. With some things that we had to have from state levels, and how do we go about doing this and that. And I know Flash and I went several times to Carroll County in Huntington to the Hall of Fame just to sit and listen and learn, and really enjoyed that because I saw a lot of old people there. Well, I say old people, they're my age, that I played against, and it was really something. So Jackie had a lot to do with getting us going, and he was such a big help.
And it's just something, let's just say we're starting today. We're having an organizational meeting today like we did several years ago. We have the organizational meeting today, us three and some more folks. We're going to say we're going to do a Hall of Fame. We're going to start it. We're starting from scratch. But you can't just start from scratch and have it 2-3 months down the road. It takes months, maybe a year to put it all together.
It really does. It's a lot more work of doing it than I anticipated, but now I love it. Kind of like Coach. I love to hear the old stories, and I used to go pretty often to the library and do the same thing and read and go back. And he's talking about the 1924 first football team. I didn't see him play, but I remember the guy, Brown Hawley, was a quarterback. And I was talking to Brown one day, and he had gone 19 years and never missed a ball game. And he would go around town picking up cans, aluminum cans, and gathering them up and selling them and giving them to the quarterback club. He said, just you learn tales like that I really like to hear. But some old tales there, and you're talking about the old schools and everything. It's just, I can't get enough of it.
Yeah, well, just about a month ago, David, you were out there, and several out at the restaurant, the Granary Restaurant. Coach Tommy Richardson was with us, came out there, and I think we had about 50 folks out there, just reminiscing about the teams that he coached back in 65, 66, mid to late 60s, I guess it was, and just fun times. And like I told Coach Taylor here a few moments ago, just all sorts of, programs and different documentation from that great 65 undefeated season.
Oh, yeah, it was, when Tommy first came here, of course, back then, the one coach coached everything. I mean, and didn't even have any help. I don't know how they done it. And why he did, I don't know, but he got myself and Stanley Blackburn and Webby Scott from Brewston to help him coach that first year. And he couldn't get a game up. I mean, he wanted a scrimmage game, but he couldn't get one. So he got us to get some of the old players around to dress out and come have a scrimmage game. it was something. It was just, it's hard to believe, but we did. 2 years later, that bunch we scrimmage was undefeated.
Yeah. Well, David, let's stand right now with the Hall of Fame, the banquet, things like that. COVID, like it has everything, it's hurt the Hall of Fame banquets the last 2 years. But at this point in time, mid-June, where do we stand with a banquet? Where do we stand with the Hall of Fame and nominations for this year? At this particular point, where do we stand, David?
Well, this year our Hall of Fame banquet is going to be October the 29th at Lakeshore, which we've always had at Lakeshore. It's an outstanding place to have it. It's just we're very fortunate to have a place like that. And it really, we had Rudy Kalis down here, 19?
3 years
as
ago,
our
the last
guest
one, yes.
speaker. And he was just, he couldn't believe the place that we had here to have it in Little Camden, But it's really nice, and we're looking forward to that. Meal's outstanding. They just take good care of us. And we have the nominations this year. We have a cutoff date of June the 30th. And that cutoff date is just, you keep turning them in. It doesn't matter if you're after the 30th or what, but that'll be the ones that'll be eligible to be looked at this year. And something I'd like to emphasize on that, our nominations are the backbone of our organization. And as board members, we can nominate somebody. But, we got a lot of knowledge and experience on the board. We can go out and push and get people and talk to them, get their nominations out, get them in, and we can't get enough of that. And the thing about it is, we started this. We've actually had 7 Hall of Fame banquets. Missed the last 2, as Flash said, and you don't want to get everybody in the first year. We want this thing to go on years from now. Be going on forever. But thing about it is, we keep them 10 years, and if you turn somebody's nomination in and say everybody will get in, that won't happen. I think everybody knows that. But don't get discouraged because we keep those 10 years. You can't get everybody in 1 year, 2 years, 3. So just keep the nominations coming. Don't matter how many you turn in on somebody, we'll keep them. So I guess with that, I don't know of anything else.
I'm just, of course, the fact the banquet is missed the last 2 years, of course, but, we can't do the whole class from the past 2 years and had all the banquet just go way too long. But might you, because of the fact that the banquet has not been held the last 2 years, might you just maybe add an extra member or two?
Yes.
Try to, make up a little bit?
Yes, matter of fact, glad you brought that up. In our last meeting, we've never had a set number. With all we ever done, I think the first 2 years we had 10 to go in it the first 2 years. And we came back and we said, well, we'll have a minimum of 6. It doesn't mean that couldn't change or whatever. But this year, since we hadn't had it for the last couple of years, we'd agree to go this year to put 8 in it, and we'll look at it next year and see what we think's best. But we're going to add a couple more this year than we've been doing.
And the date of the banquet, as you mentioned, October 29th down at Lakeshore at Eva, and because that the banquet is later, that means the nomination forms, the deadline is approaching right now. And what about the deadline again for nominations, and how can you get a nomination form in case anybody's listening?
Well, we can actually get them, I think, off the internet now. Coach Taylor has just come in with us, and I can't emphasize how important he's been to us as far as getting our internet system back up and getting our website there, and he's going to help us so much there. And the work he's done at the school is unbelievable. So we're very fortunate to have him. But you can, we're going to get them on the internet. We usually have some at the radio station, at the police station, at the high school, from any board member. If you need one, I know I got my names in the paper. A lot of people's got my number, and I've got some calls, just recently, and got some out. So we're going to try to make it easy for you to get one.
John, let's elaborate a little bit further on that. as you know, we've had the Facebook page up on the Sports Hall of Fame for a number of years right now, and you're, expanding on that, doing an actual web page now, and still, in the process, and we appreciate that. But tell me about the new web page, and is it accessible now for nominations?
It is. It's actually up and accessible to anybody. It's still a little bit under construction. I'm still trying to finish some of the old classes. I think I've got 3 or 4 of the 7 classes with their pictures and their biographies, that sort of thing up there. But I'm still working on some of those, trying to get a few extra years in. But as far as nominations go, there's actually a nominations page, and the website is actually Benton County Sports Hall of Fame. Long name, I understand, but Benton County Sports Hall of Fame.com. And if you go there, you can access that. It's nothing much. Obviously, I'm not a professional web designer. Just sort of put it together in my spare time. But it's got all the information up there, and there's actually a section that's for nominations. Now, it has all the information that's on the nomination form that you get if we gave it to you hard copy. But you would just fill in the little boxes there on the website and ask for your name, for who you're nominating, for the school they're affiliated with, all the information that you would put on the hard copy. And then you can easily submit that. It goes directly to us. We have it, and then we can move that over for our purposes to our database so that we can see all of the nominations there. And the only thing that I don't have up there yet that I'm trying to still to make work is say there's articles. A lot of people like to turn in articles and things when they nominate, just to sort of show what it is that they should be nominated for, that sort of thing. I haven't got a way for us to for people to upload those for us yet, but the simple nomination part is absolutely available there. And again, that's Benton County Sports Hall of Fame.com, and you can go there and you can nominate somebody today.
And the deadline's coming up on June 30th, and I know you check that. You'll be checking that daily, of course. And, of course, as you know, we love our sports. We love all sports, but particularly football and basketball. Typically, we get a lot of nominations for those sports. But, hey, we've got some kids who've done outstanding things through the years, as you know, John, in other sports as well.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, we've had some really good tennis players in the past. Obviously, a lot of really good golf players come throughout this area, and of course baseball has a really strong history of solid players that have not only done things at the high school level but also gone on to the next level and done a lot of things, and we need like you said, we need these nominations of these people. If you have somebody you're thinking of, nominate them. Obviously they've got to be out of school for 10 years. That's one of the requirements, and that makes me think of the fact that I believe from 2000 on, if you look at the nominations list, there's only I believe 4 people that have been nominated from 2000 on. And so this new crop, I guess you'd say, there's a lot of people from that people have heard from years and years about their names, but you think about what's happened in the last 10 to 15 years here in sports. You've had Big Sandy basketball that's gone on and made a run in region and that type of thing, and had several pretty good athletes from that. You've had obviously at Camden, you've had the girls state championship softball team. You've had within that time period, you had an undefeated football team in the regular season in 2010. You got people off of those. So there's lots of I guess you'd say a newer crop that we really should start getting nominations in for. And like you said, that's what runs this thing. If you don't have the nominations, you don't have anybody to to honor and put into the Hall of Fame.
And as we go forward, of course, the sports that you've talked about in the last 10 years, John, volleyball is coming into play. And, a few years down the road, we'll need to consider volleyball. And, hey, what about those kids in track and field right now, cross country, those great kids?
We've had at Camden specifically, with tennis and cross country the last couple of years, state championships back to back. And so that absolutely is something else. And like you mentioned, volleyball is, I don't think they've quite met the 10-year deal yet, but like you said, coming up really soon, there will be several volleyball players that would need to be under consideration. So like you said, get those nominations in anyway, anyhow.
That's right. Okay.
I just like to add one thing too, what Coach Taylor said here. I go back a pretty good ways in sports history in Camden, Benton County. And I think I'd be safe to say probably in the last at least 20 years or maybe a little longer, in my opinion, we've had probably more outstanding athletes than we had the prior 20 years. And like I say, we don't have many in nominations. So we need to really work on that and get this done because they're out there. We just got to get it done.
And anybody can make a nomination, can't they?
Except for board members.
That's right. Of course.
No board members can, but anybody else can make a nomination. And like I said, we're trying to make it as easy as possible. You ask any of us, we'll get you a hard copy if you want a hard copy. It's now, all you have to do is go to the website, BentonCountySportsHallOfFame.com, go to the nominations page, take 5 minutes, fill out the information there, click submit, and it goes right to us. That way you don't even have to search for us. You can nominate. And like you said, we keep those on file for 10 years, got a big spreadsheet, got them all on a database there that we can access as well and look at. So, absolutely. We're trying to make it as easy as possible for people to nominate but that's the thing. We have to have people to nominate.
All right. Well, I'll tell you what, time's getting away from us this morning, about halfway through the program. So what we need to do right now is take a break for our sponsor, our friends at Apex Bank, and we'll be back with the second portion of Operation 7570. Stay with us.
As summer heats up and the 4th of July approaches, Apex Bank is gearing up for another good old hometown celebration. This is Marcus Vine with Apex Bank. I want to invite you all to our free fish fry on Saturday, July the 2nd from 3 to 6 p.m. Come and enjoy an afternoon of live music, giveaways, and great food, all absolutely free. It's our 14th annual free fish fry, and we'll be looking for you on Saturday, July the 2nd. Happy Independence Day, everyone. Apex Bank, building stronger communities together. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Second portion of Operation 7570 this morning, talking about the Benton County High School Athletic Sports Hall of Fame. David Markham and John Taylor, who are board members of the Sports Hall of Fame, are with us in the studios today. John is also the baseball coach out at Camden Central High School. And Coach, I know in recent days some postseason accolades have come to members of your baseball team for the 2022 season. Let's just talk about and acknowledge those fine kids. Congratulations.
Well, congratulations to them as absolutely. We've had two from the team that I guess just 2 days ago, were named to the Jackson Sun All-West Tennessee team. We had Aiden Mansfield, who was named first team All-West Tennessee, and sophomore Trey Dooley was named second team All-West Tennessee for baseball. And then 3 days ago, the Tennessee Baseball Coaches Association put out their all-state teams, and Aiden Mansfield was named to the Class 2A Tennessee Baseball Coaches Association All-State team. So congratulations to them for those, like you said, postseason accolades. And we're fortunate that we have some pretty good ball players here in Benton County.
Yeah, and I think last week, as a matter of fact, with Coach Blackburn's girls on the softball team, I think he had a couple of girls, to get postseason honors as well. Trinity Woodard, I think she made the state softball coaches. And let's see, Riley, I think played in All-Star game. Yeah, congratulations to those two outstanding young ladies. And also talking tennis, Ellie Reynoldsson this week, as a matter of fact, Jackson Sun named her as their tennis player of the year. Congratulations to that young lady as well. Great kids, great group of kids coming up.
Sure is.
They really are. Well, David, back to you as we talk about the Sports Hall of Fame. Who governs the Sports Hall of Fame? The committee members, and how does that work?
Well, right now we've got 8 members on the board of directors. We started out with 10, and we have 8. And as a matter of fact, Coach Taylor's the one that we just added to our members. But anyway, we meet, and we've gone through the bylaws. Had to go through the state, to get a lot done with our bylaws and get set up and everything. And a lot of the things we do is controlled by the state to be able to get into the Hall of Fame. And one thing before I forget it, Flash, I just want to remind everybody that we was talking about the nominations, and before I forget it, we did decide, I believe in our last meeting or the one before, that due to the fact that we hadn't had a Hall of Fame banquet in 2 years or hadn't put anybody in the Hall of Fame, we're going to extend every nomination we got from extra 2 years to add on to it, because it's really not fair to not have one and go the 10 years that we do allow. So we're just going to add everybody 2 years. So I just want everybody to know that.
And if there's a nomination within that 10, 11, 12-year time frame now, if we get another nomination in for the same particular individual, that doesn't hurt anything, does it?
It doesn't hurt a thing at all. It gives us most of the time more information when somebody else turns it in that we probably wouldn't get otherwise, and it extends it, another whatever, year or two, whatever. So don't worry about it. If we got 3 on somebody, you want to turn one in, turn it in.
Now, how many members since 2014? Do you know how many members have been inducted into the Hall of Fame through the banquets that we've had?
Flash, if I'm not mistaken, I've got it right here, but I think it's 45. But I can double check that. I believe I'm right on that. I checked that the last time, but get my age, you have to check it again. Is that? I don't know if that's.
John, you've been looking at this. Is that about right?
I think it's 48. I
Okay.
think
Yeah.
48. I think is the number.
That's right.
All right, yeah.
Yeah.
And on your website, as a matter of fact, are you getting a location or a menu item up on the website where you can go and see each inductee from the different years?
Yes, there's an inductees section. There's an inductees tab at the top. You click on it, or actually you can just hover on it and it'll drop down all of the years, and you can click on that particular year and it'll take you right to that section, and it shows the pictures, the biographies that we have here in the programs, and all of that information is included. Their school, when they graduated, that sort of thing. All of that's included on the inductees page. So Benton County Sports Hall of Fame.com, and you can click on the inductees section. Say you wanted to see the first class, click on 2014. It'll take you right there, and you can see those. Like I said, that's the one thing that I'm still finishing. There's a couple of years inductee classes that I don't have finished up there, so they're not accessible to the public yet, but those will be up very, very soon.
And David, I guess up there, I hadn't been to the courthouse in a few months now, but I guess up on the east wing as you come in, I guess all the inductees, I guess their plaques are still up on the east side of the courthouse.
They're there, and for people going to the courthouse, take a look. We got, like I say, 48 nominees, and they're all up there. The pictures and a little bit about them's up there on the wall, and right now that's the place we're putting them. I have talked to some of the people in town that might can help us. We're looking to get somehow get a room that we can call the Hall of Fame office or whatever you want to call it, but and also maybe have a place to put our records or pictures and everything, and at some point in time have, especially when we have our yearly ceremonies, is maybe have it open a few days that week and have the public come in and look and that sort of thing. But that's down the road a little bit, but I think we'll get there. I really do.
And it's interesting to note, as you publish in the programs every year for the banquet, it's interesting to note what these inductees, after they leave high school, the things that they've done after they leave high school. There's been some impressive list of personnel who've gone on and done great things after high school.
Oh, yes, sir. They sure have. I can't remember all of them right off the top of my head, but Roland McElrath, just one who's come and played everything, real good baseball player. Matter of fact, he signed with the White Sox, and a lot of people don't know that. He's a superintendent of Shelby County School System, has been for for years, and we've got people like Roland and Jeff Turner, and just people that's done really good things and been successful. And I know I'm leaving a lot of people out, but I can't.
But it's just so interesting when you look into the history. And Dickie Bivens on the beginning, he helped us and still helps us quite a bit. The fellas he come up with in that first inductee class from Big Sandy, when Mr. Hall, I think, went on out to California to the West Coast.
Oh yeah,
did great things.
Elmore Price and Mr. Hall played basketball at Big Sandy and went to Union on scholarship. And after the freshman year, the coach got a job at Pepperdine starting a basketball program. And he took those two players with him from Union. And Mr. Hall went on to be the athletic director of Southern Cal and had a dance and
was on the Lawrence Welk show.
Lawrence Welk show. I saw an article on him or a program on him on 60 Minutes one time, and I never will forget the question that the reporter asked him. Said, Mr. Hall said he'd done a little research, and he said, you were born in Little Big Sandy, Faxon, and said, how does a person born in Faxon come up and get a dance team of this proportion and this style and come from Faxon, Tennessee? He said, well, sir, only thing I can tell you, if you was born in Faxon, Tennessee, you better have a big imagination.
And it just gets back, and we can attest to this. John growing up in Huntington, playing over there, Faxon, Big Sandy, it just attests. Don't let, and I think we touched on this a while ago, don't let being from a small community detract from your dreams, your life's ambitions, because you can go a long way, even if you're, and the opportunities await many out there, John.
Absolutely. I mean, here just recently, obviously you've got Tanner Hudson in the NFL, and not just making an appearance. I mean, he's been there for 4 or 5 years almost now. So yeah, absolutely. There's nothing that says you've got to be from a big town. You don't have to be from Nashville, Memphis, Knoxville, anywhere like that to go and make it. So.
And it's got to be rewarding to you as a faculty member, not just in sports, John, but to see the students that come through your classes and to see the students out at Camden. Just look back at them a few years later, like Tanner, just see wow, can you imagine, who would have ever thought this like 10, 12 years ago?
Yeah, and I'm sure that's the way that teachers looked at all of us when we were about that age. Like, wow, look what they've done now. But absolutely it is. And of course, the thing that I'm getting into now is wow, look at how old these kids that I've taught are getting. What does that mean about me? I keep getting older and older. And there's kids from the very first year I taught now that are in their 30s. So I've been doing this for a long time now. But it is good to go out and see what all they're doing now. When you have them in class, sit there and think, wonder what's going to become of them once they go on to other things, and then to see many of them succeed is pretty awesome.
And it's just just the things since you're teaching, since you've been in teaching still a very short while, but just the things that these kids have had to go through just in their high school careers, the pandemic and the things that they're dealing with right now. Well, David and I had to deal with a lot, but gosh, I think this may be the past 10, 12 years, maybe some of the most troubling things that kids will have ever gone through, and it prepares them for the future.
It's been different this last few years for sure. In fact, shutting down schools for 6 months almost between times that we were going. Never thought anything like that would happen. I obviously had some week-long snow weeks and things like that, but 6 months, man, that was different. And then just getting the kids back into school and trying to get them back into what the old routine was, the fact that they'd been out for so long, and moving things to online where they could get access to stuff online. Now that's changed teaching tremendously.
Well, David, we're going to have to close the program out in just a few moments from right now. And, again, we want to emphasize the fact that the nominations for the Hall of Fame committee are still being accepted for the next couple of weeks. And let's just go over that process right now and where we stand as we prepare for this year's induction class in late October.
like I said, Flash, the 30th is the last day that for this year, so we can have a cutoff date, and we'll immediately following week have our meeting and look at all the nominations and actually vote on the nominations for this year. Somebody that's got one turned in this year that is not getting in this year doesn't mean it won't be next year or the next. So don't ever think that, because we've got some right now that I think I can say with all sincerity that deserves some consideration. That's been on there since we started, but it just takes time. It's a pretty good job, but I think everybody that does it really enjoys it, and I think the results has been great.
Yeah. And let me ask you this. After June 30th, and then you'll have 3 or 4 months before the banquet, October 29th, what takes place after June 30th, after the deadline for nominations?
Well, just not naming them in any particular order, but we have sponsors. That wasn't for sponsors, we wouldn't be where we're at, and we've got some great sponsors. We put all their names on our programs, and they help us do this. We've got to go out and talk with their sponsors. We've got to get plaques made. We've got to get the trophies made. We've got to get our programs made, and all this takes time, and it's got to be right. And we've got some places here in Camden that's worked with us for whatever year since we've been here and do an outstanding job. The paper, the Chronicle down there, covers our banquet and ceremony and for free. You know, they help us out a lot. So I don't want to leave anybody out, but we've got a lot of work to do between the time we get the people elected, contacting them, getting things set up, and getting the tickets out and sold, and it's just a big job. But we get it done.
Yeah, we will. And John, once again, online nominations, online forms are available. And let's go over that address again, how people online can access.
Benton County Sports Hall of Fame, county, spell out the whole word, BentonCountySportsHallOfFame.com. And there's up there at the very top says nominations, and you click on that and you can nominate anybody you think is deserving to be in the Hall of Fame, as long as they meet the specifically the 10-year requirement there, and we're a part of one of the high schools here in Benton County. So it's easy as going online, clicking on that, nominating, and like I said, that'd probably be the easiest way if you wanted to get somebody in now before the June 30th deadline. But you know, if you still want a hard copy, we'll eventually put that up there on the nominations page. I don't have that up there yet, but put that up there, or get in contact with one of the board members, and we'll be glad to give you a hard copy of the nomination form.
One quick thing I just want to mention, we might have forgot it. If you know somebody making these nominations, not just somebody that played sports or participated in that manner, we've got a lot of people around the county that's been supporters of the programs, and we want their nominations. The people that's done things that we wouldn't have if it hadn't been for them. So if you got a supporter in mind, please turn it in, because I know for a fact we got several out there that we don't have nominations on, and we need them.
Yeah, of course, you know, people may say out there, well, he or she should be in the Hall of Fame. That may be true, but it starts by getting that nomination, getting them nominated. That's the first thing they've got to do then. John, sort of independent, it's all related when you talk sports, Hall of Fame, and the things you're doing, but sort of independent of that, as we touched on a while ago, if people have documentations, things about history of sports in Benton County, they want to get to you maybe to copy and at least get online then, the old programs or whatever, maybe old footage still out there, old film footage, you're interested in that?
Absolutely. You know, if you're talking about film footage, I've got one of the newer things I've been doing is trying to collect the footage from old Camden football games, and actually found what somebody told me, I believe you may have turned it in up there, but said may have been the first Camden football game ever filmed, and it was back from 1954, and I actually have the reel-to-reel machine to play all of that. But not just stuff like that, but like you said, information, just anything specifically before 1990. it's difficult to come by. You have some seasons that you can find information on, and other seasons where it's like it's the dark ages. You can't find anything. So if anything like that, you can get it to me. Take it to the Camden High School. My email address, john.taylor@bcos.org. Send me an email if you think you've got something that we might need. And like I said, it's not like I want to take it and keep it for myself. If it's something that's on paper, I always make a copy and get it right back to you. That way you get to keep your things that you cherish, but also that helps me with gathering the information.
Yeah. And I would think right now too, of course, high schools, all that, the kids, what they've done, very important to document this, but we have such a great sports history and other things. Like I've brought you and David this morning a copy of a Little League program, I think from 1958, when the Little League field behind the elementary school was dedicated, and David remembers that, and I was small back at that particular point in time, but David, things like that, the old semi-pro, maybe pro baseball team we had back in the 30s and 40s, that's an important part of history too.
It is. My dad took me to every baseball game they had. They had a thing go around announcing the games, that night, and go out, and one real quick thing, I saw the most valuable player in the World Series in 1954 played out here at Camden, Dusty Rhodes. Played in the league that Camden was in. He was from Hopkinsville. And probably a couple of years after I saw him is when he won the MVP in the World Series. So that's something I'll never forget.
Yeah, those old boys that played here at Camden back in those days, those boys on the Camden team, I mean, they were really bad, back in those days, because they took Nashville and those teams, they'd come down here and they taught them a lesson, I think.
Yeah, they had a hotel here that kept them, during the season, and when they was playing several games a week, they'd stay here in a hotel up here in Camden, and I got to know every one of them, just as a kid. It's unbelievable,
Well, John, a closing word from you today?
Just get those nominations in. That's the big thing right now. And like you said, not only, if it's after June 30th, okay, still get them in, because we will have them. And like I think you said a minute ago, we can't put them in if we don't have nominations. You might be thinking, why is so-and-so not in? Well, we probably don't have a nomination for them. And so if you think somebody needs to be in that's not in, get those nominations to us. That way we can at least consider them for Hall of Fame induction.
Yeah, go ahead, David.
Just one thing that Coach mentioned there on the first video, or the first film that we had on a ball game. A good supporter, and don't leave nobody out. Tom Hardy bought that projector and camera and everything for us and filmed the games. And he was Tom owned Hardy Sand Company. He's a mayor. He done so much for every sport here in Camden. And somebody needs to take my word, and Tom needs to nominate.
And when you do the nominations as well, and great persons that we want nominated, as we've talked about, David, you and John have talked about all program long this morning, when we get those nominations, put more than just their name down there. I know it's hard to go way back to get information, but we need what year they graduated in, what sports they participated in. They may have specialized, they may have been, they may have this favorite sport, but if they participate in other sports, get that. And if you have any old things, if they went on to become all district, all newspaper, all West Tennessee teams, all state, get that information down as well on that nomination form. Very, very important.
Very important. Very important.
Well, gentlemen, thank you so much. I appreciate it. Hope you have a good rest of the day. And 4th of July coming up in a couple of weeks. Have a safe holiday. And John, you and your family, the very best. And we're looking forward to seeing you boys down the road then. Thank you for what you do.
Thank you, Flash.
All right. Gentlemen, Luke, that's our program for Apex Bank this morning. Thank you so much for being with us. Hope you have a great rest of the day. We'll see you next Saturday morning.
Hi folks, this is Gerald Johnson with Apex Bank, and we're proud to announce that it is time